So here we have a couple of users, Jose and Alex, and we added earlier using register, right? So now it's been a couple of days. I've registered. I left, and then now I'm coming back a couple of days later. I want to identify myself again. I don't want to have to create myself again. I like to identify myself. So I like to log in and have the system find me in the database. And if I'm there, then it should make me the current user, right? And then subsequent accesses to the to other web pages should be tailored to me, the current user, right? Without me having to remind you that it's still me, right? Currently, we do that by encoding the information in the URL, right? But in the case here of me being having identified myself, I don't want to have to encode things like that in the URL. I don't want to have to encode my user ID or my username or anything that is private to me, right? That information should be safe on the server as opposed to being visible, back and forth, and especially encoded in the URL. Okay, so let's implement login. So here we have the implementation of register. We have also checking to see who's the current user. We know that register is adding folks into the session, and then we can retrieve it here in the current user. Well, let's implement now login. So let's implement login. So login will be a same thing. So it'll be a post. Notice that it's not that we're creating something and we're using a post to create anything, right? Actually, we only want to read, right? We want to say, does this person exist, right? So, but we're only using post because it's safer, right? So, all right, so there's login, and the implementation of login will be to look up, right, from the request, retrieve the username and password, right? So let's see, we're going to pass the username and password. So we're going to say const username and password encoded or encrypted in the from the request params. So presumably all this information came to us encrypted. So now we have it accessible on the server securely, and now we can use the users DAO, right, to find user by username, by credentials. Okay, and I'm going to pass the credentials, username and password. Right, I don't believe we never implemented this, right? So then here's the user. So we never implemented find user by credentials. So let's implement it in the DAO. So let's declare it here and let's implement it. So this will be const credential. So we're going to pass username and password. And we're going to try and find, we're going to return user model, find, and here's our criteria is that username matches the username that we pass you and that the password also matches. So find me a user whose username and password match the username and password that I pass you as an argument, right? So hopefully it'll be just one object. So we're going to say find me one that matches this, right? And so here we're going to receive that. Hopefully this user, it could be null, or it could be somebody actually, right? So we're going to ask, so if user meaning if it's different than null, then we're going to make it the current user. We're going to log them in. We're going to say request session, right? The current user is equal to this user object, right? Otherwise, and we're going to send the user. We're going to say response dot send back the current user, right? Otherwise, we never found the user. We didn't find the user. We're going to respond. We're going to send back status 404, right? Or what is it? 503. Sorry, 503. which is, I think it's unauthorized access. Okay, all right, so let's try it out. Let's, wait, I think there's an error somewhere. There's a user DAO. What's from my user DAO? Find credential, blah, blah, blah. Find user, find ID. Require. What is it? That's here. Let's see, arrow. Oh, return. We don't need the return. We're going to return because we don't have a curly bracket, right? So this is an implicit return. Okay. We start the server. So let's head over to Postman and let's try this login. So I'm going to copy this. I'm going to duplicate this. And I'm going to call it login. This is login. So it's going to be login. Save. The body, username. So I'm going to log in as Alex. So I'm going to send. That didn't seem to work. Cancel. In the body as JSON. Oh, params. Oops. Thank you. Session controller. Oh, yes, thank you. So this is body. Excellent, thank you. Excellent, thank you. And I think here also we want to send, not status, so I think it's send status. There we go, send status. Let's restart. Okay, so if we send something bogus and we send that and it's not found, what we get back is service unavailable. I guess it's not 503. Is it 403? I forget which. Is it unauthorized? Let's see. Let's try again. Forbidden. Okay, that must be it. Instead, if I say Alex, correct username, password, come back. Notice that it finds a user, and it's the currently logged in user. Right. If I go to current user now, and I ask who's currently logged in, notice that Alex is currently logged in. Right. Instead, if I log in as Jose. And Jose, right? And I log in, comes back Jose, and the current user, I can ask who's the current user. Jose is the current user, okay? So again, this is coming from the same client, from the same browser. Postman here is playing the part of a browser, right? If these were two different browsers, one from Safari, one from Chrome, and another one in different places, each one would be able to log in with their own particular usernames, right? And each one would have their own particular current user, right? And so I might, me logged in as Alex, I could store other things in the session, right? I could store my particular, shopping cart, and with your current session, right? You can keep track of your own shopping cart, and everybody can have their own version of the shopping cart. All right, that makes sense?